This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today, I said that really fast.
You did. You're excited.
I'm excited to be back.
Well, that's all right.
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution.
I think saying it fast sounds more established.
Yeah?
Like No Illusions talks so fast.
Oh, yeah, he does.
But they can understand it.
Yeah. Today is Friday, January 4th. This is episode 232. I'm your host, Dan Ellis. It's 2019 now.
I honestly didn't think we were going to keep that intro. I thought we were going to start over.
Oh, yeah? No,
let's keep going.
Yeah. We'll roll with it. We're going to keep it in there.
First of the year.
It's 2019 and the world's still fucked.
We're going to have to fuck up sooner or later. Let's get it right. Let's get it done right out of the gate.
That means we're going to fuck up twice.
It's awesome that Trump has got us to a higher number than Obama ever did.
Yeah. Much higher than Obama. At least 2 years higher. Three years higher than Obama. But we are we're into the second, almost the third week of the shutdown.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Also, I am one of the lucky employees who gets to work for free. That's been a really good time. Well, we'll talk more about that in a bit. But I haven't seen you guys for 3 fucking weeks. What's been going on, man?
Has it been 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fuck cock.
Yeah. Today marks the third week.
Working sick.
Oh yeah, you said you were super.
Yeah.
You were sick at work.
Yeah, I was sick at work. I woke up Christmas Day with no fucking voice at work.
Awesome.
And then
Merry Christmas to me.
it pretty much it went like this. I got up. It's probably like 8:30 because we didn't have to get up at normal time.
Did anybody complain that you didn't have a voice?
Oh yes,
really?
That's exactly where the story's going. And I walked. There's 2 other guys sitting in the kitchen. I walk in there. I start grabbing a cup of coffee because I just wanted something hot for my throat. And the guy's like, "Oh, good morning, Duff." He's like,
I got something hot for your throat."
Yeah. Oh, that it is a fire station.
Some man lotion.
And the guy's like, "Hey, Duffy, how you doing?" I'm like, "Not so good. I have no voice." And he goes, "Duffy, get the fuck out of here right now."
Yeah.
You're going to make everybody sick, motherfucker.
I'm like, "I just want some coffee for my throat. It hurts." So I got some coffee and then went back to my room and laid there in the dark for about 10 hours because my head was throbbing like.
Yeah, you still sound like you got a bit of a head thing going on.
I'm a lot better. I mean, I'm still a little nasally. Probably should have taken some decongestion stuff before I showed up here, but I'm not coughing anymore. I'm not hacking.
I got some stuff upstairs if you need it. Let me know. We can pause it and go grab you something.
Oh, I'm good. I mean, I think my voice is damn sexy anyways. So
it sure is. How was your Christmas and New Year's?
I was at work.
For both?
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, how was Sarah's Christmas and New Year's?
I think she just had fun with Oz.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my Christmas party and New Year's party without Ryan and have fun with a dog. Yay.
Yeah, I was pretty much from the day before Christmas until yesterday working.
Oh, boy.
So, but now I'm off for 7 days. I got a 7-day break with this shift change.
Oh,
that's
nice.
Like we're changing the schedule of the show.
Yes.
So, because I'm changing shifts right now.
Yeah, we're recording tonight and then we'll be recording Wednesday, right?
Tuesday.
Awesome. I'll have 2 shows to edit at the same time. That'll be good. And my computer is shitting the bed. How are your holidays?
Kind of similar to Ryan's, actually. I wasn't working, but that cold flu thing was really going around, and it was a real ass kick, man. That thing put people down for a good week or 2.
Yeah.
Christmas was just a lot. It was nice, but it was, Christmas Eve with Brandon and Danielle and all that, and then Christmas all day with Danielle's family, and then the day after Christmas was me and my siblings and my parents' Christmas. And then the day after that was Danielle with her step siblings and the whole sibling Christmas. So there was like 4 or 5 days straight. And I'm not social really, so I was fucking worn out. So I spent the whole rest of the time battling mental illness and building maps on Far Cry 5.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Tracy's family stay with us, and then we do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day here. So Christmas Eve, the whole family comes over. We have a big dinner and stuff. A traditional Danish dinner consisting of we usually do a roasted pork something.
I like
a nice pork roast with some potatoes and there's these like candied potatoes, and they take forever to cook, but it's these tiny little white potatoes that you put in like caramelized sugar
and ganache.
I can't remember what it's called. It's some verjurgerflirgen. It's some Danish something or other, and then like pickled red cabbage stuff that's really good. But yeah, it was good. Had the grandparents over here and everything. The whole family was over here for Christmas Eve, and then as the older members of the family, the older, more religious members of the family leave, and then everybody starts to get really tanked. So and it was, and Tracy's brother and his fiance came in from Austin and stayed with us for about a week during the holiday time frame. And then it's just, tons of family coming and going, and I don't know, it's just the whole house was super busy the whole time. Christmas Day, my family tradition is we do breakfast burritos in the morning and then open presents and stuff. So that was always fun. Had everybody over for that. Everybody shows up in their pajamas. My kids showed up in matching pajamas. Gray and Lydia came as, they had Game of Thrones themed pajamas.
Oh.
Tracy and I had...
Seems like everything on that show would be pretty uncomfortable to try to sleep in.
Or it's just you wear nothing. From everything I've heard about, it's just titties and dragons.
Have you not ever watched it?
No.
I haven't either. Well, no, I started season 1 and there was just a lot of weird rape and stuff that I was like, I was kind of put off a little bit.
I just remember like the cast of it did that weird internet video where it was like this opening song, but they kept singing like titties and dragons. That's all I remember from. So that's.
I mean, it must be good because everyone talks about it and watches it and everything. I had a hard time getting past that rape stuff.
Yeah,
I mean it's graphic too. It's not like
it's
not like they give it's not like they give you the impression that okay that's what's going to happen. They fucking show it. It's just like yeah, it's good. It's entertaining. It's fun.
And Tracy and I had Christmas Vacation themed pajamas. I can't remember what everybody else had. But yeah, it was good. Got to spend a lot of time with family, and then New Year's we had a little gathering here at the house with a bunch of close friends and got really, really drunk. I was making experimental shots. The first 2 rounds were really fucking awful, and the third round was really good, but I'm not sure how much of the first 2 rounds influenced how good the third round tasted.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot better because you were already drunk.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you just got to remember 2 bitter and 1 sweet.
Yeah, I was mixed. Oh, this sounds like it would go good together, and this, and yeah, the first 2 rounds it was just nothing but alcohol, just all different kinds of alcohol and liqueurs, and yeah, the second one I added some fruit juice, and maybe that's what made it better, or the third round. But the family party that we had, so before we took a break for the show, I told everybody that, my family party on the Ellis side of the family was coming up and that it was going to be at an LDS church, and I was super excited about that. What I didn't tell you is that before the party, as part of the Christmas card, maybe I mentioned it, that in the Christmas card that my father sent, he also drew a fucking map of the church.
No, I don't think you did mention that.
it was on like a little recipe card, like a 3x5 card,
an index card.
Yeah, and he had hand drawn a map that was like, of course, not at all to scale, didn't have all the street names on it, didn't say which way was north, didn't like.
Oh, nice.
And
so it was just scribbles.
Yeah.
Because that's useless.
Yeah, it was completely fucking useless.
It was a kindergartner's treasure map.
It was completely and absolutely fucking useless. And, you know, of course, we just figure, okay, well, it's an LDS church. And we know that it's the LDS church that my father attends, so it's going to be the one closest to his house, probably. Right?
I wonder if he was influenced by the Book of Mormon. All the maps in there, they look very much like a place, but you can't put it on Earth anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he got his cartography skills.
So we start driving, and we're almost there, but we're running late because we had to, of course, wrap presents for everything and then put everything in the car, and then we get headed down the road, and Tracy reminds me that we had forgotten one of the presents for my father because his birthday is on the 20th and then Christmas is on the 25th, and so traditionally I don't see him on his birthday, and then I give him both presents, and I'd left one at home, so we had to turn around and come back and get it, drive all the way up, and it's in fucking Brigham City, which is like an hour and 15 minutes away from here. So we're like 10,
you have to go to him.
Yeah. We're running like 15 minutes behind, and my phone rings as we're in Brigham City, like within a mile of the church, and it's my grandmother, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "We're on the way. We're almost there." And she's like, "Well, where are you now?" And I'm like, "Well, we're in Brigham City. We're on 600 North. We're headed east." And I'm like, "What is the address of the church?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. Your dad drew a map." And I'm like, "Yeah, he drew a map that does me no good at all. And it has no address on there. There's no address. Like it's
there's not even a north.
It's less than helpful. Like there's nothing about this that is helpful at all."
He just literally put lines on a paper.
Yeah.
Like, there's a thing called Google. So all I need is the address.
So then she's like, well, you know where your dad's house is? Well, you just head like 3 streets east of that, and then you want to turn south. And I was like, okay, well, this is where we are right now. Where is the church from us? And so then she told me where to go. So we get there, and of course my dad is shitty. And so I walk in, and I'm carrying his gifts, and I walk over and put them next to him. And for those who aren't familiar with LDS church ward houses, the main gathering spot for family parties, for anything extracurricular at the church, is the gymnasium / auditorium / theater area / basketball court / whatever. It's a carpeted basketball court generally these days, with a stage and whatever. So he's sitting on the first little few steps from the stage, because the stage has rows of seating right in front of it. Like the stage tiers down to the floor. So he's sitting up there, and I walk over and hand the gifts to him, and I'm like, "I'm sorry I didn't call you on your birthday," because I did. I forgot to call him on his birthday. My bad. But I did spend 3 hours at Seagull Book and Tape and Deseret Book looking for something for him, wandering around those shitty fucking stores, taking pictures of the various G's that were there. But I was like, "Sorry I didn't call you on your birthday. Here's your Christmas present, here's your birthday present," or vice versa. It depends on what you want to do. Either one could fit for either. And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're going to have to come over to my house to get your presents." And I'm like, "No, we're leaving. We're not staying for the whole thing. We've got to leave early." So we didn't bring gifts for, at the end of the party, we do this bingo game and then if you win bingo, you get to go and either take a present and unwrap it, or take a present from somebody who's already unwrapped.
A bingo white elephant.
Yeah. It's lame and frustrating, and somebody always cries. Like one of the little kids will get their present taken by another kid or an adult. It's a frustrating thing that I have to deal with every year. But so I did get to sit with my kids and my lesbian cousin Trisha and her partner, and so we had our little progressive enclave there while we were at the party. And so one of the first things my grandmother says to me is, "Well, why don't you call your dad?" And I said, "Oh, I forgot I was out looking for things for him though, and then I got home and it was too late to call." And, but I walked in and I told Tracy, I didn't call my dad on his birthday. And then she's like, "Well,"
but sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but how old is your dad?
Let's see. I'm 44.
Okay, so he's over 44.
Yes.
I hope.
I mean, this whole rigmarole you're going through, I mean, I believe the sincerity is coming through, but my question is, why would a 44-year-old child have to be going through all of this about a phone call to a man who's over 44 about his fucking birthday?
Because
what a child.
Yeah, he is. He's a spoiled fucking child, and he treats my grandmother like shit. Like,
right.
He's old school. Like, anything she does, you know, he speaks to her really cruelly. Like, there's a lot of, he's just a shitty fucking human
Like,
being,
she's
basically.
just there to serve him.
Yeah, basically. And anything she does, it's like, well, why did you do that? That was stupid. And I'm like, dude, that's your mother and my grandmother and a tiny little frail person, and you're just a giant fucking asshole. But so, you know, she's like, well, why are you guys late? And I said, well, we forgot the present. We had to turn around. Traffic was worse than I thought it would be. You know, just various different reasons, but it's not like we were an hour late or anything.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and then, you know, we wouldn't have even found the place because, of course, the one church that it was at doesn't even appear on Google Maps. Like, Tracy did a search for all the LDS churches in Brigham City, and the one closest to my dad's house on the map was not the church. The church that we ended up at isn't in Google Maps. So we would have gone somewhere completely different. So I'm glad that she called because we were late.
He was at one of the 200 churches in Brigham City that's not on Google Maps.
Yeah. So she's like, well, your dad drew you a map, and he comes over. He's like, yeah, I drew you a map, and it's got my house on it, and it has the street name. And I'm like, but you didn't give me an address. And when my grandmother called while we're in the car, I'm like, you know what would be great? She says, where are you? And I'm like, well, this is where we are right now. Where is the church? And she's like, well, it's, you just go 3 streets. And I'm like, what is the address?
Yeah.
That would be great. If you could give me an address, that would be perfect.
Especially the way they lay out the streets in this state.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know what the address is. So we get there and my dad says, well, I drew you a map. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't include an address. What you gave me is completely useless to me in today's age. Like, you may as well have given me a sextant and a map of the fucking stars for all the help that this hand-drawn shitty fucking map provided for me to get here.
A sextant and a star map would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been better. I'm like, that's not how the world works these days. Like, give me an address. I put it in my phone. It takes me right fucking there.
Yeah.
I don't have to, or just give me the address, and because Utah's set up on a grid system, I can find it fucking easily.
Yeah.
But you didn't even give me the address. And he's like, well, I don't know what the address is. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. You've been coming to this church now for 2-3 fucking years, and you don't know the fucking, it's a big fucking number on the side of the goddamn building.
Yeah.
Also,
doesn't he live in that town?
Yeah.
So doesn't he know the basic streets that he's on?
Yeah.
Just give you an intersect, cross streets, something.
Yeah. I was so frustrated.
I can understand why.
We're running late. It's an hour plus drive there, and then I get there and it's instantly, where are you? Why are you late? Why didn't you call?
All this you have to do all this explaining as if you owe them something for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah. So I was done. Like, we got there and I was done. I leaned over to Tracy. I'm like, can we just go now? Would that be good? And she's like, I'm ready to go anytime you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I didn't want to come. And she's like, well, I didn't either. I'm like, why the fuck do we do this every year?
And then it's time for bingo.
So then we wander over to the table where they're setting out food, and we just start, picking up little bits of food. And, Tracy and I are talking to each other, and we're talking to the kids, and I'm talking to my cousins and grandmother and everybody. And we're just like popping food in our mouth while we're chatting and everything. And I noticed that the LDS members of my family who were sitting at a separate table were all just kind of giving us the stink eye. And I realized, they haven't said the blessing yet. They're pissed off that we're eating because they haven't said the blessing yet. So,
but if you eat before the blessing, then it won't strengthen and nourish you.
Yeah. However will that work? So,
don't you know people that don't pray for their food die of starvation?
Oh man, it was just the whole, it's just, I don't know that I'm going to do it next year. I think I might just say, I'm not. Well, I'm not participating.
I think I have Christmas off next year. We should just have an atheist Christmas party.
Yeah. That would be
nice.
Anything would be better. Like, if you want to come over and just like pull out my fingernails really slowly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can work on a dungeon.
Pour lemon juice into some wounds that you've made. It was so fucking frustrating. And then So we left early. We didn't bring gifts for the bingo thing because we were going to leave early. And I didn't know, how long it would take to get dinner started, how long it would take to have dinner, all that kind of stuff. But I knew we needed to leave at 8:30 or whatever it was. And that was the other thing too, is that they have this party on a Saturday at 6 p.m. in fucking Brigham City.
Ugh.
Like, so it ruins any plans that anybody has for Saturday at all.
Yeah.
He's literally just saying, here's what I want to do. That's it. Like, he is not thinking for 1 second about what everyone else has to do.
Yeah.
He's just like, I want to do it at 6 o'clock at this church right by my house. And
yeah, well,
I'll go so far out of my way as to draw you a map. Even. This is how selfless I am.
Well, and on the way home, Tracy's like, so do you think that if and when your grandmother dies that you'll still have this family party? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I mean, and even if anybody else wants to participate, I'm not going to fucking go. Like, I go because of my grandmother. Yeah. And, I like my grandmother. I like hanging out with her. She's nice and sweet, but I just can't stand being around he's just such an asshole all the time. It's like, that's all he knows. That's is exhausting. How to be an asshole. And everything is about him and everything is a guilt trip. And I've got to explain. It's just like, dude, you don't have any fucking idea what's going on in my life right now, why I'm late. Like, you're a retired guy who sits at home and has nothing to do but worry about what other people are doing. I didn't call you on your birthday. I'm sorry. When was the last time you called me?
Yeah, exactly.
Does the phone only work for calls to Brigham City, not out of Brigham City? And it's the same kind of shit that I remember when I was young, he would complain about my grandparents to me.
Now he's in the same
they always complain that I don't call, that I don't visit, as if the roads and the telephone will only work one way. And it's like, dude, maybe it's just a getting old thing. I don't know.
That's weird.
But yeah, so, and then we're at the party and he's like, well, you'll have to come over to my house to get your presents. And I'm like, well, no, we're leaving early. Well, when are you going to get them then? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess the next time I see you. Well, maybe you won't get them at all. And I'm like, okay.
All right. Well, why wouldn't you bring them to the party where we're exchanging gifts?
Exactly. Yeah.
The whole thing is about this thing.
Yeah.
Why are they not here?
I just wanted to further inconvenience you.
Well, yeah, that is a total power move, manipulation move right there.
After seeing what you got, I'm betting you were wishing for the latter of you weren't going to get it.
Oh, God.
I did share with Matt and Ryan what my father made for me for Christmas. Yeah. So I don't know how much detail to get into here.
We'll have to put up a photo of it on our closed Facebook page.
Yes, I will put it in for those of you out there in listening land. I will post a picture or 5 or however many it takes to give you the full detail of this thing that my father created. I'll put it in our Facebook group, the Godless Rebelution community. I'm not going to post it on our regular page. It'll be in our closed group. So if you're not a member there, you're going to want to go and ask to join, and then you'll be able to see the pictures. I'll be sure to post those.
Which so far there's only been like one guy that's asked to join, where I've been like, you have a lot of Jesus-y stuff and you're from Mexico. I'm just gonna let that sit.
Yeah, I don't think we've denied anybody.
No.
But yeah, so anyway, it's this awful framed kitschy thing that's in the shape of a Christmas tree that is decorated with 3 pictures of me, some coins, some buttons, a ton of costume jewelry. Did I already say that? And like Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah.
And
he didn't even show any tits.
And it's in the shape of a Christmas tree, complete with Christmas tree lights.
Yep.
And apparently these are like a hot commodity for people who collect kitschy things. Like if you go out on eBay, these things run anywhere between like $100 and $600.
Are you serious?
To buy one of these things? Yeah. But my father also half-asses everything he does. And so it's just done terribly. Like it's this framed thing on purple velvet. I think I said felt before, but it's velvet.
Well,
velvet.
At least the velvet isn't wrinkled. It's on there pretty smooth.
And he hot glued everything, and there were just hot glue strings everywhere. So it came, it's that, and you can actually plug it in, and the lights are supposed to come on. And when I had it plugged in, and they did come on, and it worked for just over 5 minutes before it quit working. So then when I went to inspect it, I see that there are at least 7 splices in the wires, and he just used electrical tape to fix the splices. I'm guessing he got them crossed somewhere, or he just used really cheap and terrible lights, because he also included a little like Ziploc baggie with probably 100 lights to replace the lights that are
every
in there.
5 minutes.
There's like 10, maybe 15 lights in the whole fucking thing, and he gave me a whole bag of these lights. But then, even then, when the lights stopped working, and I thought, oh well, I'll see if I can, test the bulbs to see which one may be burned out or whatever. Then I noticed the splices. Then I see that it is physically impossible for me to replace most of the lights in there because they're hot glued in to the fucking thing that he made. It's awful. And he did it because my grandfather had made something similar when I was a kid for all of my uncles. And my grandfather did a great job. They're old and they're obviously dated, but he did a good job. And it's obvious that my dad spent a good amount of time making the thing that he did.
It was a good attempt.
No.
No,
I'm being nice.
It was an attempt.
It's literally like Lady Gaga and Huggy Bear trying to make a carnival Christmas tree.
It's so fucking terrible. And so I'm really, really glad that we had an excuse to leave the party early, and that he didn't bring the present there to the family party.
Yeah.
I do feel very badly that Tracy and I left, and Gray and Lydia went over to my dad's to get the presents, and apparently he made one for each of them as well.
Oh.
And I didn't, in all the commotion with, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and everything, and then opening up the present from my father and everybody having a wonderful time discussing how awesome it was.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go into much detail with them about their, what theirs looked like and everything. But apparently, so they go over to his house to get the presents, and he immediately launches into a guilt trip on them, like, why doesn't your dad like me?
Ugh.
And it was like,
that's awful.
It is so, like, it's completely inappropriate to put my kids in the middle of anything like that. Completely manipulative, just way out of bounds. You don't fucking do that. Like, if he wants to know that, he should fucking ask me.
Yeah, it's also really insecure and like oddly, I don't know, what's the word for that? He's just,
well, it seems like the trend with your father. Everything else.
Yeah, selfish, narcissistic, completely self-absorbed. Yeah, so he puts them in the middle of that, and they're both just like, I don't know. And I think Lydia said that they actually told him, hey, maybe you should ask him. This would be a conversation would be better to have with him.
Over a beer.
Oh, maybe it's because of situations just like this one.
Yeah.
This thing you're doing right now, this is probably going to be on the list of things.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, everyone hates this.
Yeah. Yeah. So they told me that, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, does he want me to prepare a list for him? Like, all of the different marriages, the beatings, the mental abuse, the abandoning us for 2 or 3 years while he moved to Connecticut and fucked off. And it's just
father, starting at the age 5.
Yeah. Just fucking, he's been a peach my whole fucking life, right?
And the reason why he doesn't ask you is he knows you'll tell him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to hear the answer.
Yeah. Probably.
He doesn't want to hear that. He knows there's a ton of shit.
Yeah. Just so frustrating. And I haven't spoken with him since the party, and I'm sure he wanted me to call him Christmas Day or afterward and tell him how wonderful the gift was and how appreciative I am for receiving it. And it's not going to happen. So, but I'll also note that he hasn't called me to thank me for the presents that I gave him for his birthday and Christmas.
Yeah,
so.
Of course.
It was awful. The whole thing was fucking awful. And I was just really happy. Like, we left there and we went to a party at Callie and Caitlin's, with just some other friends that were there. And, we got there and I said, so I left my party with my relatives to come and have a party with my family. I love being around you people. You are my family.
Yeah.
Those are my relatives. This is my family. Thanks. And we had a good night and everything was great the rest of the time, except for Christmas morning when I had to unwrap the god awfulness. It was just,
oh man, I can't even imagine getting that.
I was just curious at looking at him, like, what's the symbolism of like the anchor on it.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre.
Like a French coin
And what is the red and white button fucking thing?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain most of the things that are on there.
I figure if the stuff that was on there,
so it's really meaningful and personal.
Yeah, it should have symbolism to you. Like if you were in the Navy, the anchor would make sense.
Well, I know at least two of the coins. I know one of the coin
was a Utah coin.
Well, yeah, so that's for Utah, and the other one is a 1974 quarter, which is my birth year.
Yeah.
So I know why those
sense.
two things are on there, and why there are 3 pictures of me, but basically everything else on there I can't fucking explain to save my life. I don't know why the fuck they're on there.
Look good.
According to who?
Your dad.
He's like, oh, I found this in my pocket. Yeah. I found this in the driveway. This will be great here. I don't know what the fuck, man. What the fuck is the anchor on there?
I don't know.
Nobody in my family has been like in the Navy or
you don't sail.
Yeah, like none of that. He bought a boat like 2 years ago, but I've never even been on his fucking boat.
It's like he cleaned out his junk drawer and glued it all on there.
And hot glued it on. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some other stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, this is Justin Schieber, formerly of the Reasonable Doubts podcast and currently of Real Atheology, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
But I'm not going to have Nazism called secularism, if you don't mind. I'm a prisoner of what I know here. I know too much about it. I've read Mein Kampf, for example, which most people have not, where Hitler says several times, starting very early on, that he's doing God's work in exterminating the Jews. He went on saying that. The Vatican was shown the book. In those days, they would ban any book they didn't like the look of. They were one of the great book banning organizations in the world. They didn't ban the book that was written by the leader who made his first political treaty in Germany with them and their church, and outside Germany between his dictatorship and the Vatican. If you wanted to take your oath, well, you didn't have to want to, you had to, if you were in the German army or in the SS, to take your oath to the Führer, which was compulsory. You took it like this: I swear by Almighty God, undying fealty. Around your belt, if you were a soldier in the Nazi army, you had to wear a buckle that said Gott mit uns, the German for God on our side.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
All right, Matt, what have you got for us this evening?
Well, usually this time of year I have a collection of thoughts or ideas or things that I've thought about for bringing to the show that haven't made it. This year I just put together a bunch of random thoughts from the year and turned them into really bad poetry.
Oh, lovely. I'm very excited.
What are the things, the Bogons or whatever?
Yeah, the Bogons, yeah. I should bring in one of the only pictures I have as a young, toddler, and looked rather like a Vogon. This one's called Suicidal Felines. Cats are like depressives, always aloof, emotionally unavailable, sleeping or staring down the street. Sure, they can climb any bridge, tower, or roof, but if they take the leap, they always land on their feet. Feeling even worse, a failure, morose and glum, maybe leaping to their death isn't the right paradigm. But they can't even tie a noose without opposable thumbs. Plus, as cats, they'd have to hang themselves at least 9 times. This one's called Injustice. Cops smell like bacon. They like donuts and coffee. Police are part of a complete breakfast. No wonder why they wouldn't lock up OJ.
Oh, that's funny.
This is a longer one. It's called The Arts and Fried Rice. I like to draw. When I tell people this, there's one thing for sure. They always say the exact same thing. I can barely draw a stick figure. How did that become the standard for shitty drawing? I don't buy it. That many people can't draw stick figures? Have you ever seen Mandarin written out? Billions of Chinese kids draw stick figure letters every day before school's out. If you flip all their papers quickly with your thumb, you'll see a cartoon of how to do karate. Jesus. I drew my own cartoon that I thought was about Buddhism, but it was a message for a fortune cookie. I didn't know that until I showed it to a Chinaman. But don't worry. I heard a collective moan. I drew only in highlighter back then, so it was in his skin tone.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
I'm sensitive to social issues. This one's called Food.
I'm hip to the progressivisms, man.
Yeah. I was thinking about him. I like food, and of course, barbecues are delicious. Most of the time, there isn't any asking. People just bring their favorite dishes. And there are always those brownies with mint frosting.
Which are fucking disgusting.
I don't like
mint
those.
belongs in mint. Like as mints, as gum, as toothpaste, mouthwash. Like
and ice cream.
Mint, no. No!
Fucking love mint chocolate chip.
God damn it, Ryan.
I don't like those, but brownies are great. Just bring something with normal food contents. I don't want perfectly good desserts covered in toothpaste. I have time to eat and brush my teeth in 2 separate events. I also like snacks, treats, and everything in between. But it took me way too long to realize that Nutri-Grain bars are just Fig Newton limousines. This one's cellular service. The Middle East is a place of stark contrast. Talking about the religion of peace amid suicide bomb blasts. Women must be in burqas because men have too much testosterone. Their faces have more coverage than their mobile phone. This one's called Past Tense. We say when... this is just a intro. We say when I was young, there was. But we're talking about time, and the word there refers to a place. So we should say when I was young, then was. Anyway, when I was young, then was a shitty TV show called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The white girl wore pink, the white guy is green, blue, red, and blue, but now it gets stranger. Unlike the colors of Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Donatello, the only Asian on this show had to wear yellow. If that was planned or not, it's tasteless. They should have been the Mighty Morphin Power Racists.
And sexist.
Right? This one's called Silver Linings. The plus side of school shootings is a day off and more Nickelodeon. Of course, this is only true if you're not the school custodian.
Oh, jeez.
Another positive, when it seemed that all was lost, we got a bunch of new medical research without harming any animals out of the Holocaust.
Oh.
It's terrible.
This one's the last one. It's called Backward Thinking. I watch a lot of television... Let me start that again. I watch a lot of television shows about true crime. Commonly, you can identify the pedophile in no time. Bushy mustache and glasses so thick they're photo-refractive. I'll never understand why kids find that look so attractive.
Oh.
Seems to be the one that all the kids go for.
Yeah.
Those were fucking awful and good at the same time.
Thanks.
Awfully good?
Yeah, I'll take it. Well, it's my year of thoughts and really bad poetry.
Condensed into very bad poetry. Thank you very much. You got other newsy things for us?
Yeah, I got a few of those. Let's put that one off for now.
Okay.
Surely not all the money collected by the Catholic Church goes to protecting child rapists. Nope, some of it goes to this. Los Angeles. 2 nuns who worked for decades at a Catholic school in California embezzled a substantial amount of money from tuition and other funds they used to pay for gambling trips to Las Vegas, church officials said on Monday. The embezzlement from St. James Catholic School in Torrance appears to have gone on for at least 10 years, said Adrian Alarcon, a spokesperson for the Archdiocese of L.A. Do they do any good anymore? You know what I mean? They get all these, they get the tax breaks, they get the moral high ground, they get all this social privilege on the idea that there's some good that they're providing to the society. Are they doing anything?
There's probably some out there that are actually doing some good for people, but it doesn't seem like the bigger they get, the less they do.
They cover their books, and as soon as anyone gets into even a tiny fraction of it, it's all pure corruption and evil.
Well, I know that here, somewhat locally, whatever diocese is in Ogden, they were providing food for IRS employees who have been affected by the shutdown and may not have food or money to get food. The Catholic Church has offered some welfare services to those employees.
And I know there's
I don't know what kind of, proselytizing may come with that, but
I know there's a Jewish synagogue in Salt Lake that does every week they set up a stand to hand out sandwiches and food to homeless people. I'm like, that's people doing good stuff there. But it does seem that the bigger the organization gets, or the bigger the entity gets, the less good they actually do with it.
Yeah. Well, the
I don't know,
the synagogue probably just needed to get rid of all of their canned ham products.
I'll continue with the story. During that time, Sister Mary Margaret Kruper was the school's principal, and Sister Lana Chang taught 8th grade students. Both retired earlier this year. Neither has been charged with a crime. Why do they always do this? The amount taken from tuition payments and other funds is still being tabulated. Alarcon said, adding, she couldn't confirm some reports that it was as much as $500,000.
Wow.
Meyer said both nuns acknowledged the theft when confronted, apologized, and are cooperating with the ongoing investigation. He said they and their order, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, have promised to pay back the money.
By what? Gambling?
How are they? Yeah, I know.
For their weekend jobs? Are they Uber drivers?
They're they're retired. I don't know. The Archdiocese has notified police, but Meyer said church officials don't plan to press charges at this point and instead want to see the matter resolved internally.
Of course.
With the money repaid and the nuns disciplined by their order.
Hey, well, they've handled pedophilia
awesomely.
So well, yeah, I know. I think internally means something different to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kruper worked at the school for 29 years and retired in June, according to the church's newsletter. Chang taught there for 20 years. So who knows how big that was.
So, like,
how far-reaching.
It follows along with this, but so as you guys know a little bit, I do stuff like on my days off where we try to help out like the groups that help out like 6 kids or veterans and all that kind of stuff. Well, apparently I got wind of a group that we had been kind of doing some stuff a little bit of on the side with, that stole a whole bunch of money from a kid we were doing a fundraiser for this summer.
What?
Where they did it was a motorcycle ride and car show type thing that went on, and they put buckets out for you to donate money in. The groups had set out. And the one group was, the Servant Motorcycle Ministry, a group of motorcycle guys that is a motorcycle ministry.
Are you saying motorcycle?
Motorcycle ministry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Motorcycle?
It runs on the stuff that you lay bricks with.
Yeah. Well, apparently, their jar of donations never showed up to the family. And this
I don't know, man. It mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus. Maybe it'll be back in 3 days.
And this is for a family that's got, I think the kid's about 12 years old, and he's probably this year alone has had 3 open heart surgeries.
Jesus.
So they're trying to raise money to help pay for hospital bills and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to say, what does he need with that money? He's not going to go gambling in Vegas with the nuns.
He might. I don't know. But the funny thing is the guy that heads up that group sent me a Facebook friend request like 5 days ago.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't accepted it because I'm like, no. After hearing about the shit this guy does, fuck you.
Well, it's all right. God'll forgive him.
But we don't believe in that.
All he has to do is ask.
But that's another example. When this is a small group that's pretending like they're doing a bunch of good stuff underneath the name of Jesus, and apparently
that's all it ever
had a
is.
little bit of a record of keeping the money that they've raised for a kid.
That's all it ever is. It's people who walk around talking about Jesus out loud are never doing good things.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. I can't. Well,
yeah, they must be. I mean, it's hard to make such an absolute statement.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's groups out there that do good. Do. But the thing is just like this group here. We're gonna hear more about the groups that do horrible things than about the ones doing positive things. No, I'm not trying. I'm just trying to be honest with the aspect of it.
Yeah.
Not because. You can't deny that there are religious people out there that do good shit.
But it's like, but it's like, I think it was Sam Harris that was saying that, fundamentalism is only a problem because of the fundamentals of the religion. I mean, this is paraphrased and not as eloquent as Sam is often, but always. But that's the thing. I mean, if they're walking around doing this whole, these are my believies bullshit, the further they suck into the books and the beliefs and everything, the worse it gets. So even if externally they're fighting all of that and actually being humans and doing good things, the problem is the more and more they get into it, the worse and worse it gets. Then you start getting into, we can't accept gay people, othering and us and them stuff. And so,
yeah, well, a lot of the times when religious people are doing something good, it's despite what their church has to say or the Bible has to say about the things that they're doing.
Yeah, right? They're better than the religion.
Yeah, they're acting outside of what they're, of what the fundamentals of their religion would teach as being a good thing.
Yeah.
And what they should be doing. Which, yeah, they don't, like, they profess all this belief and that the Bible is the inspired word of God or is the word of God and, is this great moral guide, but they don't follow everything in the Bible. They pick and choose whatever they want.
Yeah, of course.
Thankfully, most of them do.
Right.
Because if they didn't, then we'd live in a murderous hellscape.
Yeah, we'd be back into the Inquisition.
Yeah.
There's a group called ISIS.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've often said that helping others is kind of how do I put it? You do it because you like to do it, and you get a good feeling out of it.
Right.
So it is kind of a selfish act to do something for someone else to make yourself feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, if you didn't feel good about what you're doing, you wouldn't do it in the first place.
Yeah, it's like that. Is there really such thing as pure moral good? Because of that feeling that we get, it's that some people must be gift giving first for the feeling they get from giving the gift.
Yeah.
Ahead of the good the gift does. Even though they're both good, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine that it feels good to do good. In fact, that's better.
Well, yeah. I mean, you do good to do good, but I've met people through doing this that are very wealthy people that before this were like, fuck, I never even would have crossed my mind to do this, use my money in this way. But after doing it and seeing the reactions on people's faces, it's kind of like, wow, it makes me feel better and feel like I've been really, really super selfish with the way I've been acting. And
I think that's rare.
It is rare. I've only met a couple of guys out of the rich people that we've tried to get help from that can actually afford to help some of these families out. And then a couple of them have been like, yeah, dude, I kind of want to do more of this because of the way it makes me feel, the way I get an enjoyment out of it. But yeah, because if you don't enjoy it,
right,
you're not going to do it.
Good evening and welcome to Lacrimose News, where things that are happening keep happening until they stop. Coming up next, some very nice people were poisoned. But first, the weather.
That reminds me, we had some listener feedback. Listener Robert Cox sent us a message, and he said that he was looking at the donor list for the GoFundMe page for the border wall and noticed a familiar name. Jay-Z Knight donated $10,000 to it. You guys know who Jay-Z Knight is without reading further?
No, I started reading further. But no, Jay-Z Knight makes me think of like Jay-Z the rapper. But
well, so we've mentioned her previously on the show. You've seen What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh no.
Yeah. She's the woman who channels Ramtha. So Jay-Z, the rest of his comment says she's that cult leader who claims to be able to channel a 35,000-year-old being named Ramtha. I think that you talked about Jay-Z Knight briefly on an episode of Godless Rebelution. Anyway, I looked at her Facebook page and she is definitely a full-blown Trump nut now. She promotes QAnon and other garbage there.
Whoa. That whole QAnon thing, that's her. I'm like, dude, you people just need to lay off the LSD and MDMA. You guys, you do not need any hallucinogenics because you are fucking nuts.
Well, and so when you said, there are very few rich people, or wealthy people, who are, willing and able to give money and do good things with it a lot of the time. And that's what reminded me of this comment from Robert is that I don't know what it is about a lot of people who have a lot of wealth that maybe they just have way too much time on their hands and start looking into other alternative things and turn into fucking nutcases, man.
Yeah.
Like this. So yeah, this woman is in that What the Bleep Do We Know, and has been on talk shows, and she runs this education thing, and she pumps out books based on what Ramtha has told her.
I don't think she's educating anybody.
No, it's really terrible scam. One of her. So I went out and read the Wikipedia entry on her.
Okay.
I think she's been married 3 times now, and one of her previous husbands sued her. And in court said that, the whole Ramtha thing is just a big scam. It's all bullshit. But she runs this like Ramtha Religious Education Center, and it's basically just a cult.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But maybe we'll have to actually.
Should we pause and go revisit her real quick?
I remember.
I want to pull up one of the. There's tons of clips of her channeling Ramtha.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go and find one of the.
All right.
The time I watched What the Bleep Do We Know? I only watched it once, and it was during a time when I was pulling a lot of documentaries and just watching them while I was at work or whatever, and doing my job. But so anyway,
doing my job.
So I had that one, and because it was talking about physics and quantum mechanics and all that kind of shit, and I started watching it, and I was going, "What the fuck is this?" Like, none of it was really making sense, but it's very wooey, weird bullshit.
Well, I mean, there she is back in 1985 on the Merv Griffin show.
Whoa. Yeah, she's been doing this for a very, very long time. Let me find a good video here. All right, so there's this one that I think comes from a scene in What the Bleep Do We Know, which is fucking terrible, awful movie.
Yes.
It had its heyday of, among all of the mystic, spiritual, airy-fairy
Woodum.
yeah. Throughout the world of Woodum.
If you can only watch 3 documentaries in your life, Zeitgeist, Loose Change, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Guess what I saw pop up on YouTube? Loose Change 2.
What?
I was like, should I click on? I'm like, no. I'm like, I've went down too much of a flat earther rabbit hole. That's probably why that came up in the first place.
I haven't seen Loose Change.
It's not good.
Yeah. What is it about?
World Trade Center.
9/11 inside job.
Oh, good God.
I think it's one of the things that really kicked it off, because I saw it like 10 years ago. It was on it was on there like for it takes you, oh my gosh, dude, all the way to the JFK stuff and through Manchurian candidates and all.
It's one of those things.
I mean, Loose Change itself doesn't, but like the rabbit hole.
Yeah. But
it's all those conspiracies.
I love when I come across a 9/11 truther. Like, how do you explain that? And I go, well, remember that really famous golfer that died in that plane wreck? Well, here's an image of his plane crash. I'm like, wow, you can't see any parts of the airplane because it went straight into the ground at 600 miles an hour. Kind of like this plane did. Went straight into the ground at 100 miles an hour. Just fucking gone. Vaporized.
Yeah.
But how do you explain that the towers fell at the speed of fall?
Well, they didn't at the speed of fall. It was gradual, and you can see them leaning.
At the speed of fall?
At the speed of a terminal velocity. Or the one where they go,
jet fuel doesn't burn that hot, Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, but steel doesn't need to be that hot to bend.
Thermite.
and there was wreckage on the lawn of the Pentagon.
Planted there by the CIA, no doubt.
I saw a video with.
Well, I mean, it does kind of suck that like 3,000 citizens died and no politicians because they took that plane down.
Yeah.
It should have been the other way around.
But I saw a video where a guy was trying to prove that you can burn down the World Trade Center with thermite. In the lengths he had to go through to build a device to hold the thermite just right to be able to cut through a beam was fucking insane. It's like, you had to engineer a steel box that you had to weld to the fucking beam in the first place to get the thermite to travel right where you wanted it to. And you're telling me they did that on all the beams in the World Trade Center. Nobody noticed. And then after it was on fire for an hour, then you ignited the thermite to cut the fucking beams.
Yeah, because that makes it look like the building fell on its own.
Okay.
They were very smart in their conspiracy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this comes from What the Bleep Do We Know? And this is just a clip of Jay-Z night. And I don't know if she's channeling Ramtha here or not, but
she's making up an accent.
She's
yeah, I don't know where she's trying to be from.
She's interesting.
God must be greater than the greatest of human weaknesses, and indeed, the greatness of human skill, that God must even transcend, are most remarkable to emulate nature in its absolute splendor.
In its absolute splendor.
That's just word mush.
And just a sentence before, she said nature with a hard R at the end. So
what the
we should look up and see where she was born and stuff later.
How can any man or woman sin against such a greatness of mine? How can any one little carbon unit on Earth, in the backwaters of, indeed, the Milky Way, the boondocks,
the boondocks of the Milky Way? Like, there are... God. I'm not...
Oh, get this.
To get going or started on this would be like, oh my God.
Her name's Judy Zebra, and she was born in fucking Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, well, there you go. So she knows all about the government conspiracies.
That's really weird. She's 72.
The heat has fried her brain.
Or the aliens that crash landed there.
Almighty. That is impossible. The height of arrogance is the height of control of those who create God in their own image.
She says as she channels some fucking 35,000-year-old. She's an awful person. She's terrible.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was her channeling Ramtha, because at one point she says, "How can they defy me?"
Is Ramtha a god?
I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, she's terrible, and we got that from Robert, and so I thought I would share it with you all. We had some other interesting stories sent to us.
I kind of want to start a cult now.
Oh, yeah?
Just for fun.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see. This one was sent to us from Jerry Presley, and it's that Arkansas minister sells believers heavenly air in mason jars.
I can't.
I have not read this, but I just noticed that this is from my friend Andrew Hall at Laughing in Disbelief over on Pathos, and a lot of his stuff is satire.
Okay.
So, Andy's a very funny guy. Andy and Jack do the Naked Diner podcast together. And when I was on the Naked Diner, Andy had something wrong with his car and wasn't able to be on the show. But yeah, I visited with both of them quite a bit at the last American Atheist Convention. And yeah, Andy's a really funny guy. But this says...
So there's a chance this can be a fake story.
There's a chance. We'll have to read through it and see. It says, Pangburn, Arkansas, Reverend Lucius E. Polk is selling Heaven's Air out of his 2009 Ford Focus hatchback, and believers are loving it. Reverend Polk is selling empty mason jars supposedly filled with the air of heaven for $8.99 and can't keep up with the demand. And, oh yeah, so that is underlined and has a link that just as I hover over it, the link says pathos.com/blogs/laughing in disbelief. Is this satire? Let's see what that says. Have you clicked on a link to a story and you're here? The story you're reading is satirical. Post may have links to real events that satire is based on, but the Laughing in Disbelief article is fake. There are winks to readers in each piece beside the link to this page that I humbly offer as hints that the story in question is satirical. Aha!
Well, that's fun.
Well, but the thing is I would not put this past somebody.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the whole raw water craze.
Yeah, well, that's what makes satire sometimes really hard to distinguish.
Yeah.
Is because people are fucking lunatics.
Quote, God is blessing me spiritually and financially, the man of God stated. My mustard seed of faith is growing so much I can now afford to buy those $20 scratch tickets. The label on Heaven's Air bills the product as 110% pure air from heaven, and you too can breathe the same air as our Lord Jesus above. Reverend Polk tells of all the health benefits from cracking open a mason jar of Heaven's Air and breathing its contents. They include, but are not limited to, dislodged bile, cure sick headache, female ailments, colicky pains, vapors from the spleen, skepticism, gripes, and dropsy. Users of Heaven's Air report miraculous healings and spiritual awakenings. Janet Mason of Big Bend swears Heaven's Air is her mother's little helper. Quote, whenever my 8 kids start gnawing on the drywall, I just open a jar and my day gets divine. Ava Devine of Malvern, Arkansas insists her female ailments become submissive to the Lord. Local health officials are warning the populace not to spend their hard-earned money on untested atmosphere. There's no way to confirm Reverend Polk's claims that angels take the mason jars to heaven every night to fill them with Heaven's Air. God doesn't work that way. You pray. His plan doesn't include you getting cancer. When you get cancer, you thank him for the privilege. Klan County Chief Leecher Andrew Kennard stated.
Klan County.
People aren't listening, however. They love those mason jars, and there's no end in sight of Heaven's Air. This list is based on Daffy's Elixir and Beecham's Pills.
It's probably, you know how like when people have a meth lab and they got to put like garbage bags outside to catch the air that's really toxic. He's just pumping it right in the mason jars.
That actually ties nicely into a thing I brought. If that's
yes, please.
You got a story on meth?
No, but he was in that article. They were using all kinds of old timey illnesses that would cure, and I just happened to have with me a bill of mortality from London, 1665.
Ooh,
a bill of mortality.
Yeah, which
like
lists all the casualties from the year to go with the last show's odd pre-scientific illnesses that I. So these are records of deaths for the year. Many of the causes of death are known diseases or causes like age, drowning, or tuberculosis. Importantly, this is pre-scientific world, and some causes listed are, not science. 24 people were killed by cancer and wolf.
Wolf or woof?
Cancer and wolf?
Cancer and wolf. So
wolf.
It seems if you're eaten by a wolf, then the emphysema becomes a little inconsequential.
Yeah.
It's like probably not the proximal cause of death, the cancer.
Or do they
probably
figure
eaten by the wolf?
Or do they figure the wolf killed them because they had cancer?
I don't know.
It's kind of like wolves or predator animals will sometimes take the weakest out in the pack, and sometimes those have diseases.
Possibly. Or maybe wolf was something else entirely. I don't know. One person died of falling sickness.
Which floor did they fall from?
I'm not sure. I thought maybe it was a term for epilepsy, but they actually have convulsions and cramps as a cause of death. So,
well, falling sickness, I think, in other countries is called splat.
Oh, I was going to say narcolepsy.
So they thought the one guy who hurled himself off the cliff was he had the falling sickness?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 10 people died of grief that year.
Oh, I'm sad.
How did he die? If death.
How many people do you think died of mother?
Mother? 15.
Died of mother?
That was the cause. Mother. 0.
But why?
What? They don't have any other categories. It's not like they have a whole like spreadsheet that has all these causes and they just type in the numbers. They're writing out everything. So they wrote out cause of death, mother 0. I have no idea why. I don't even know what that would mean.
Well, maybe one person died of it the previous year. They just want to let you know, hey, this year nobody died of mother.
Nobody died, yeah.
Really bad postpartum.
23 died of King's Evil.
King's Evil? Is that when you get beheaded by the king because he's pissed?
I don't know.
What is that?
203 died from Rising of Lights.
Rising of... What the fuck?
Rising of Lights.
They were abducted by aliens.
Ah.
The probe broke off.
16 died of vomiting.
Oh.
So apparently King's Evil is scrofula, formerly held to be curable by the royal touch.
Huh.
I see.
So is it King's Evil because the king does not touch you to cure it, and he's evil for not touching
I guess
you?
So.
I don't know. And scrofula is a disease with glandular swellings, probably a form of tuberculosis.
Okay.
Well, that makes some sense. One poor fellow died of fright.
Did his hair turn white? That would be cool.
21 died from just plain evil.
Okay.
Does it say just plain evil?
It just says evil.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The king helped him out, but just the evil got him.
Yeah. One choked with fat.
Choked with fat.
Too much bacon.
6 died from being bruised.
I watched some of your bacon video you posted.
Yeah, that was my last deployment.
Did you vomit?
No, I was not feeling good. I had a total sodium overdose with that.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was like boiled bacon, not like fried.
Ew.
It was Iraq. Everything was boiled.
Ew. How do you boil bacon?
I don't know.
Gross.
I don't know, because it was like chewy bacon.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. How many died of chewy bacon?
1. 206 died of mortification.
Mortification.
They were embarrassed to death.
I was going to say, did they get the mortician killed them?
I'm mortified.
Yeah. 75 died of lunatic.
Oh, just went crazy.
5 died of itch.
Itch.
Meth?
No. 1 died of lethargy.
Just gave up.
1 person died suddenly. Another guy died of sore leg.
Huh.
And
do you think these are things where people just like these are all different suicide? Like these are the reasons for the suicide, like sore leg.
I don't think so.
Lethargy.
Well, I like when I hear sore leg, I wonder if the guy had like an embolism in his leg. Like, oh, my leg's hurting, but he actually had a clot. And once the clot breaks loose and it goes to your heart or lung, boom, you die. It's like, well, he had a sore leg, then he just died.
Clearly, the sore leg killed him.
Yeah.
75 died they were overlaid.
Overlaid.
Too much sex.
That's a good problem.
Were they hookers?
I don't know. 41 made away with themselves.
That sounds like suicide.
Or they just left. It just sounds like
then how do you know they died?
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe that is suicide.
That's what it kind of made away with themselves. Like
I just
they took care of themselves.
Yeah,
they made themselves leave.
Yeah.
Made themselves away.
Yeah.
I just assumed they fucked off, and then people were like, "Oh, they're probably dead."
They're probably
clearly
dead.
If you're not in our little community, clearly you're dead.
We don't check the next village over. They die crazy all the time.
Yeah.
He might have died of cancer and wolves, but we'll never know because he's not here.
And finally, 8 people died from wind.
Oh,
wind. I wonder.
I don't know. Those silly Brits.
Like, did they go surfing and the wind and the waves got them?
I don't think they surf very much in England.
Died from wind. I can't even imagine.
Is that? I wonder if wind, like they lost, like they stopped breathing, like they couldn't breathe.
Asthma, maybe.
Like, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, you gotta the medical technology.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
horrible.
No, they knew nothing. Yeah, I know.
Well, they like beans on toast and lived in small areas. Maybe it was gas poisoning.
Gas.
Because you said this was 1700s. 1600. So germ theory wasn't even a thing yet.
No. 1665.
And that's when they still believed like your
bloodletting,
your brain was in your heart.
Did they?
Yeah, there was a long common thought that you couldn't do anything around the heart because that's where your soul laid.
Oh, the soul, yeah, okay.
And the brain really didn't do anything. Like they didn't really know the function of this thing up here.
Sure, yeah.
And they thought it came from here. Like your soul was what was actually doing everything. So that's why it was you couldn't do anything with the heart. I don't know if they technically could have, but
anyway, yeah. So. Grateful for modern science and medicine.
And it's always the thought that 200 years from now, they'll be going like, what the fuck were those people thinking?
Isn't that amazing?
Or we think we're smart.
It's hard to imagine that, because...
It is hard. Because
it's like, what else could,
Because
how could they know that much more than us? Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know what they could know.
What they will know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Hi, everybody. This is Mikey Weinstein. I'm the founder and president of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
The state of mind that everyone's in, including the press, in listening to him is to take potentially the most serious things in the world not seriously, and the least serious things in the world, like Meryl Streep or what he thinks of her acting. That dominates a whole news cycle. It's very upside down. It seems to me to be quite new as opposed to, lies are perennial, but I feel like we're in a very different space now with the consequences of misinformation.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Listener Alan Firkinoff sent us this story about one of the stupidest people in Congress. I think he's probably the stupidest.
At least he's got a name that fits it.
It's our old pal, Louis Gohmert.
Yeah.
Louis Gohmert to Fox and Friends. Extend shutdown for a while until hell freezes over. Because that's a great thing for the American populace and all of the federal workers who are impacted by such a thing.
Well, and then, like every shutdown, it costs more money to shut the government down than it does to keep it open in the fucking first place.
Oh, dude, yeah. It is so fucking wasteful. I can't tell you. Like, there's so much work that is going undone, and then people like myself who are forced to work for free, and, we have no guarantee that we're going to be paid, no end to the shutdown in sight, no anything, but I still am required to go to work because I am an accepted employee because we are deemed essential to the IRS's regular routine operations.
It's also not like... this should be like in the nuclear option category, but it's become just a conversational manipulation tactic to just, we'll just shut the government down till we win. It's a stamp your feet kind of move that they're just doing every year now.
Well, and it's one of those things. It's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. I think we've mentioned a few times on the show that, Republicans have this thing that they do where they point the finger at a government agency and say, look at this government agency, they're fucking up, they can't do anything right, we need to cut their funding. After they've already cut funding, which is directly tied to why there was an issue
down,
in the first place, you create hiring freezes and pay freezes, you cut budgets, and then those agencies start to fail, and then they point at them and go, look at this terrible agency. Yeah. Look at this wasteful, terrible, awful agency that can't get the work done that they need to get done because we've made it impossible for them to do that. Yeah. How dare they?
Because we want you to do more with less now.
Yeah.
So do more than you did before with less than you had before.
Yeah. And I am one of those lucky government employees who gets to work for free currently. And we've been directed that we have to report to work, but that we can only perform duties directly related to tax filing season, which means we can't do any kind of training, no anything, no improving of the software or anything like that. It has to, unless it's directly related to, if there's a problem with, if something is broken, we have to get it fixed for filing season. But then it's like, okay, well, but there are all these other things that are in the works to improve or to fix other things that are going on that I can't get done because, the other 90% of the IRS workforce isn't there to do the things that they need to do to let me accomplish what I need to do. So it's fucking bullshit.
And then when they come back, they're going to have to do makeup work. Because they've been behind.
It's not like the work has gone away.
No, it's just piling up. So now there's probably going to be a lot of overtime paid out for those people to catch up on that work or forced, like, hey, we have a deadline, same deadline as before, but guess what? Now you got to do the same amount of work in half the time. So you're free to work weekends or
all of the work that you couldn't get done before because of budget cuts and staffing cuts and everything. Now that's just been piling up, so that's all still there. You'll have to catch up on all of that, plus your regular duties that you would perform anyway. And, the IRS doesn't only do things behind the scenes. They also communicate with taxpayers and the American public all the time. People call with questions about their tax bills, with questions about how to pay their taxes, how to file their taxes, the changes to deduction, all of these different things. And on top of that, of course, there was this big sweeping tax reform that everybody's been working their asses off to get in place for filing season, that now it's like, okay, well, we're already now 2 weeks behind because of the shutdown. How much longer is this going to extend? And there's nobody there to answer calls from anybody. They're it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously expensive and wasteful. There are people who, had trips planned to go to training or to, fix something, work on something somewhere else. That cancel all of that. Yeah, all of that is just canceled, forestalled. If you were in the middle of a trip somewhere when the government shut down, fuck it, you're done. You can't do anything else. You're coming back home. Mm-hmm. And then we're still going to have to send you back out there again anyway. So then there's, an increased cost to send you out there twice.
Yeah.
It's just
plane tickets and hotel reservations and rental cars.
They complain about fraud, waste, and abuse all the time. And it's like, you fuckers have known that this deadline is coming to pass a budget, to pass funding for these government agencies. That's your fucking job. That's your job to get this done, to keep the government running and working. And you didn't do your fucking job. And so now a bunch of other people are out of work. A bunch of people are still working and not getting paid for it. Meanwhile, Congress is there, still getting paid, still showing up for work, still not getting a fucking thing done.
Yeah. And this is what I said. This is what I meant. Like, this should be absolute last resort. Only if you have to do this should this ever happen. Mm-hmm. It should not be a negotiation tactic between, for bipartisan politics in Washington. That's it's becoming an every year thing now. That's ridiculous.
This is the third shutdown since Trump has become president.
How many years has he been president?
2.
Yeah.
Not even a full 2. January 20th is a full 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and just today he held a press conference after a meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, wherein the president said that, I don't care if the government is shut down for months or even years. That'll be fine. That's fine with me. And really, a lot of the people who are affected by this, they want it to happen. They want me to keep fighting.
They're big supporters of
No. You don't look at any. He must not be looking at any national polls on this.
No, he's not.
Because the vast majority of Americans do not support shutting it down. They do not support funding for a border wall.
This is also coming from a guy who's never had to actually work a day in his life for a penny.
And he still really doesn't do any fucking work.
No.
It's ridiculous. And so, I'm working and I don't know if and or when I will be paid.
Well, did you take the president's advice and go get a job like mowing lawns or shoveling driveways?
Or to talk to my landlord to see if there are some, around the house tasks that I can do, some home improvement. This is my home. I have a mortgage. I don't have a fucking landlord that I can go to and say, hey, can I, do some work around the house to just shit like that, where he's completely fucking clueless about how the world works. And so if you're not currently a Patreon patron of the show, now would be a terrific time for you to become one. I would really appreciate it. That would be awesome. Might make sure that, we can keep the show going and the lights on here at the Ellis Homestead. But so this came to us from listener Alan Firkinoff, and it's about Louis Gohmert, Republican from Texas, who said on Friday during an interview with Fox and Friends that the government shutdown should continue until hell freezes over if funding for a southern border wall isn't secured. The comments from Gohmert come as the government continued its partial shutdown for a 7th day with an agreement unlikely to come before the end of the year. The shutdown began Saturday after the president's demand that $5 billion be included in a spending measure for wall funding was rejected by Democrats. Congressman, how long should the president keep the government closed? Asked Fox and Friends co-host Griff Jenkins. Again, it's only a part of 25%, noted Gohmert in response. Congress has already approved prior to the current shutdown that 75% of the government would be funded through September 2019. And because we keep seeing people losing their lives without one, you'd do it till hell freezes over, the congressman added. January, February, Jenkins attempted to clarify. Until hell freezes over, Gohmert insisted, because we owe it to our country, and the best thing we could do compassionately for Mexico and Central America is not give them money that ends up in the hands of drug cartels. It's to secure the border so the drugs quit coming and we don't lose 70,000 more lives a year, and Mexico becomes a top 10 economy because we got out the corruption. That's compassion. Nothing about that is accurate.
No.
President Trump took to Twitter on Friday with a threat to close the southern border entirely if an agreement cannot be made with obstructionist Democrats over funding. So if you can close the southern border entirely, why do you need a fucking wall?
Yeah.
Why? I can't. And the people who believe this kind of thing, I have a hard time reconciling that I live in a country with people that fucking stupid.
I know.
Well, and it's also the fact that a large portion of our border, you can't put a fence or a artistically designed slatted wall up, which was in a tweet. Because you got things like the Rio Grande or the southern half of the Rocky Mountains that are in the way that cause a natural barrier that we can't build this fence he wants on or wall.
We can't build it anyway.
And the sections that we have been able to build border fences, artistically designed slatted walls on, guess what? That's already been fucking funded and we've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's already done. There's already money in the budget that's been there for a long time from an act from 2006 to take out the fencing, the old Constantine wire fences, and replace it with the slatted fences where they can see through it. But it has never been a deterrent. People still fucking climb those fuckers. There's a thing called a ladder.
Climb it, tunnel under it, go around it.
Yeah.
Like it's a ridiculous waste of fucking money. And you have Trump saying, well, it's like, it's a very small, tiny amount of money. It's $5 billion. And when compared to the trillions of dollars that we spend, it's really just nothing. And this is from the same fucking party who complains about funding to PBS for like $35 million.
Yeah.
But he wants $5 billion that he says is a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. These are the so-called fiscal conservatives that we hear about all the time. That he wants to shut down the government that is costing. I wonder if anybody's published an article about how much it actually costs per day when the government is shut down like this.
Yeah.
Because I'll guarantee you that we're probably running up to over $5 billion now that's just being fucking wasted.
Thrown away. Yep.
It's so frustrating.
And it's being wasted because what they're fighting for is to waste more money.
Yeah.
We want to waste money. No, you can't do that. Then we'll waste money until you let us waste money.
Yeah. It's frustrating and it is greatly concerning. I mean, like, I have a little bit of savings. I have some credit cards that we could probably fall back on, but
you shouldn't have to.
That shouldn't be a thing that I have to worry about. And I shouldn't have to fucking work without knowing I'm going to be paid. Like there are laws against that kind of thing for any other employer in the United States that you can't have people work for you for free.
So I got some numbers here really quick. So the last major government shutdown in 2000, this article's from January 20th of 2018. So of last year. So the last government shutdown in 2013 for 16 days cost the government $24 billion.
Yeah.
And then the shutdown last January, they were estimating was going to be $6 billion a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wasteful.
Oh man.
Wasteful, ridiculous. So he's wasting all of this money to get $5 billion that he's not going to get.
No.
You know, there were reports earlier this week that, during a meeting, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were like, look, this isn't a battle you're going to win. Like, we're not going to give you the funding for this. It's not going to happen. So why don't we do this? Let's take, we can break this up into separate bills to fund, the Internal Revenue Service, the Coast Guard. We can do all of these things separately, and then we can deal with, the issue of funding for the border wall, whatever. And we can even provide funding for DHS to get all of that back up and running, to pay for TSA and things like that, while we're working out the details on, how much, if any, money you're going to get for the wall. But in the meantime, why do you have all of these other agencies shut down that have nothing to do with the fucking border wall?
Well, and one thing I had read said it costs about an average of $3.5 billion a year to run just the security at the border for all the, the checkpoints, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they agreed in the first bill to give an additional $1.5 billion, which would put the border security funding at $5 billion.
Mm.
And he said no.
because
it wasn't for the wall.
Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, some other fucking dipshit that he watches or listens to called him a pussy.
Probably, yeah.
And so now he doesn't. He feels like he can't go back on that, and he has to have a win here. So what I was saying earlier is that there were reports that he met with Schumer and Pelosi, and they said, let's fund these other agencies, let's get this taken care of while we work out this other thing. But it's, it doesn't make any sense to have these other agencies shut down for this one thing that is unrelated to these other agencies. Yeah. So let's break out funding for them separately. We can argue about funding for DHS or the wall or whatever else. And Trump refused to do that because he said it would make him look like a fool.
Yeah.
You already look like a fucking fool, dude. That ship has fucking sailed. The horse is out of the barn. That shit is done.
That happened in 1980.
Yeah, nobody doesn't think that you're a fool anyway. Who isn't a right-wing talking head, right? Everybody else knows that you're a fucking fool.
But even they might, as we were talking about before the show, they might like overall some of his policies and ideas, but they still think he's a buffoon. And he doesn't come across well, and he doesn't explain his ideas succinctly or anything. They still think that. Even people the only people who don't think that are those hairy back trailer trash, swamp dwelling,
knuckle dragging, cousin humping,
exactly.
Knotted sock, tooth flossing.
Even the rhetoric they keep putting forward is completely wrong. Where they're saying the Democrats just don't want border security. They want to have open and free borders so people can just keep crossing back and forth whenever they want.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's just,
then why did they offer
bullshit.
you an extra $1.5 billion to go to the people that are helping do border security?
Yeah, it's bullshit. And they're not doing anything to reform our immigration laws.
No, which needs to be done.
You just want to keep people out because fuck brown people.
Yeah,
and all of this, it's all based on this premise that immigrants are this massive drain on U.S. economics.
Yeah,
which is also not true.
No, they actually kind of.
It's this huge fear of. Oh, sorry, Ryan.
I was going to say, migrant workers actually help our economy quite a bit. We kind of rely on migrant workers.
Well, and a lot of them pay into a system that they will never get any money back from. They all, they may take on an assumed identity or whatever, but they're still paying taxes. They're still paying Social Security, none of which they will get back.
Which is another thing that people are always misquoting, saying that they take from the system but don't pay in. I'm like, no, well, it's actually the exact opposite. Yeah. They pay in, but they're not allowed to take
in fact,
from the system.
Some of them might be the reason why these people even have Social Security at this point, because the baby boomers fucked that so hard.
Yeah.
And then you got the fact that we're closing down border entry points and lobbing tear gas across the border at them, when it says right in our immigration laws that in order for them to seek asylum, they have to enter the United States through a border checkpoint. So they all show up at a border checkpoint to enter through to seek asylum. And what happens? They shut the border down and they launch tear gas at them, tell them to get away from the fence.
And
it's like they were trying to do it legally. They announced months ahead of time, we are coming seeking asylum. And they show up at a checkpoint to seek asylum, and you close the checkpoint and launch tear gas at them. They were doing what they were supposed to do legally. They were following the rules that we made for someone to seek asylum.
And even then we're like, no, fuck you.
Republicans don't play by rules. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, then they go, well, look, they're climbing the fences. Like, yeah, some people were climbing fences. They were doing it the wrong way. The ones that showed up and lined up at the fucking border in like Tijuana and places, and then you fucking shut it. You close the border. So even Americans that were on the other side trying to get back to the U.S., they had to go find another border to cross at.
Well, and it is a complete lack of being able to show any bit of empathy or compassion. It's like they view people from south of our border as subhuman.
Yeah, which is
they're not real people. They're not real humans. It's
the tribal mentality.
Well, and to figure that, these people leave everything behind. They leave with literally the clothing on their back and whatever they can fit in a backpack, and hopefully enough water to keep them hydrated long enough to get into the hands of Customs and Border Patrol who hopefully will recognize if they're dehydrated and won't let children die in their custody.
Right.
But they leave because they fear for their lives. It's not that they're coming here to steal. They're not coming here to steal and rape. They can do that wherever the fuck they are already.
Right.
They're trying to run from the cartels and the dictators that we put in to power down there through fucking war.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about this for a second. Wherever these people are coming from
are places we fucked up.
Trump is a better option.
Yeah. But I mean, it's people who are fleeing being murdered or having their family murdered. They come here with their children to try to protect them, and Republicans say, no, fuck you, you're brown.
Well, I did make a joke.
We're Christians.
Yeah. I did make a joke to an ultra-conservative person, like, why are all these people trying to come to America? I'm like, they're not trying to come to America. They gotta pass through America to get to fucking Canada where everything's better.
Well, yeah, that's just it too. Like, why aren't we worried about our northern border?
Right.
We're not. They're white.
It is so obviously, blatantly a racist, xenophobic thing that is going on, where they do have no empathy, no compassion, no understanding of the human condition, and that these people are escaping horrible, horrible atrocities in the places that they're leaving to come here with absolutely nothing and start their entire lives over again, knowing that when they come here, they're not going to be handed a golden mansion or anything.
No.
They're going to have to work their asses off to get anything just to fucking survive. And to them, that is a better option.
Yeah.
That they leave everything that they have. They leave their entire lives behind because they fear that if they don't, they won't have a life there at all.
Yeah. And they're not going to come to America and just be like, oh, we're going to give you Social Security. We're going to give you all this money like a lot of Republicans
That's what they're
think.
afraid of. Yeah. They're really afraid of that.
Guess what? They don't get that shit. They're going to go and have to learn how to speak English so they can work at a McDonald's. Well, unless they're in some place where it's more Spanish speaking in southern parts of the United States.
Here's my problem. Who fucking cares? Who cares if we were giving them all that money? Yeah. It costs less to fund them than it does to shut the goddamn government down and build a wall.
Yeah. A whole
Just
lot
fucking give them the money.
Yeah.
Who cares? They're human beings.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
Show a little fucking compassion and kindness. What would Jesus do, right? Isn't that what the fucking Christians that are doing this kind of shit say all the time? What would Jesus do? Would Jesus say, no, fuck you, this is our land, go back to your country?
In fact, guess who's the villain of the story when he didn't have room at the inn? When the Mary knocked on the door to have Jesus, and the innkeeper put him out in the fucking manger. In the barn.
Yep.
That's what you're fucking doing. You're the innkeepers.
And they do this, ironically, at Christmas time.
Yeah.
When
you got fucks like Joel Osteen in his mega church, you could probably buy a house for every one of these motherfuckers. I mean, not a big house, not a fancy house.
So easily. We could do it so easily. We have so much extra in this country. We have so much extra. The problem is people like fucking Donald Trump that hoard it.
Well,
and don't share and don't want anybody else coming and competing.
If we spent the money in this country wisely and conservatively, we all could do a lot better and have more in our pocket.
$5 billion is no big deal. That's a drop in the bucket when you look at our total budget that we've inflated through having to fund our military, to be so much larger than every other industrialized nation in the world.
Or when we put more value on the few corporations in the country versus the many people in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these are all based on Republican policies.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating that we're surrounded by fucking idiots.
Yep.
But I don't want to be paying none of them taxes and going to any of them brown people.
And these are all white people on welfare too, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
We're surrounded by idiots and people who are
fucking
so
hypocrites, man.
Complacent that they won't get off their asses and go out and vote these horrible monsters out of office.
And when I hear people say, like, when you're talking about like the welfare people, everyone I've known that had to take unemployment, they've never gotten more money in unemployment than they were getting their actual job.
No.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. I can remember the last time I had to go on unemployment, and it was a big reason that I decided to leave the world of contracting and get a stable job where I'm always going to have a paycheck with federal government.
Yeah.
was I, the contract that I was working on ended and I was out of work for like 7 months.
Yeah.
And went on unemployment. And at the time, I think I was making like 73 grand a year. And on unemployment, I maxed out at $400 a week.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's like, okay, I can buy groceries and gas now.
Yeah, you went from taking home like $1,000 a week to taking home like $400 a week.
Yeah, it's slightly
more than $1,000 a week. Yeah, to $400 a week.
Slightly better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I hate when people are like, well, you're able to make more money on
just these
social welfare
fuckers,
than you are on when you get an actual job.
All these social programs make it so much make it easy for people to just sit at home and do nothing.
No,
no.
Not social programs, entitlements.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing I hate. When people say like, it's my choice not to have kids. I don't want to have kids. They're like, well, you're not contributing to the system then. You're going to take from like, your social security and stuff when you get older and you don't have any kids that are paying into it. It's like, no, motherfucker.
I'm paying into it.
I've been working since I've been 16. I've never had a break of not having a job since I've been 16 years old. And I've paid Social Security that entire fucking time. Guess what? I'm going to pay more into Social Security throughout my lifetime than I'm ever going to take out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it probably should work. But with the baby boomers, they did the opposite. They kept all of their money by voting against taxes, and then they flooded the Social Security system by saying, "Give me it."
Well, and there's also the mistake of the government.
I paid into it my whole life. It's fine.
The government borrowing from the Social Security system and not paying it back, which they should not be allowed to do.
Which party does that?
I'm not sure both have done it. I think both have done it.
Yeah, probably.
Where for funding, they'll basically dip into Social Security funding to fund other things.
And then just go, oh, well.
We'll pay it back sometime.
Pretty much. And that should be illegal as fuck. It should be like, no.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to borrow from a social thing that the citizens...
Right.
Well, the citizens... So it should be, hey, the citizens are giving us federal taxes. We can use that for federal government stuff. Social Security is for a social welfare program for the citizens. That money should be only used for social welfare programs for the fucking citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And everything should be okay. But it's not.
I'm
just wondering when we're going to start watering all our plants with Gatorade.
Next
week.
You
mean Brondo?
Brondo, yeah. And waiting for Luke Wilson to come save me.
But I've been lucky in the shutdown because luckily for me, my section that I'm working for in the government has funding for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it too. Like most of the government, they haven't passed an actual budget funding the full government for years now.
Yeah.
Since Clinton.
It's been continuing resolution after continuing resolution. And this is after all of the austerity bullshit that they passed, the nuclear option where, we'll draw up this bill that's going to be so awful that of course nobody will sign it, except they did.
Yeah.
They cut funding for everything.
Yeah, that's like when you talk about funding, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I'm worried we're not going to have any funding for our fire department this next year because we didn't have any major fires on base this year. The year prior, we had a couple of really good fires. We had one fire that could have went into the main area of the base and destroyed a whole bunch of buildings. But we stopped it. We blocked that fire. We got it moved in a different, we didn't move in a different direction. We kind of corralled it a different way. And
now you didn't use the same amount of funding, so they'll feel free to cut that funding back.
But the thing is because of those, and they saw some of our downfalls with how some of our trucks weren't working properly and stuff, they funded us last year for all this new apparatus because they saw, oh shit. Yeah, we can see how that's a hindrance and that vehicle keeps breaking down and you really fucking need one of those to help fight these fires. Yeah, we'll fund you for a new one. But this last year, they didn't see us working on any major wildland fires. So like, well, what'd you do?
We came and we played games and watched TV.
It's like, we didn't have sorry, the desert didn't fucking torch like it did the year before.
We'll start some fires if that'll help.
But the thing is, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And unless those shortfalls that were addressed aren't ever fixed, bad shit can happen again.
Yeah. There are findings all over throughout the IRS that, this system is aging and failing and needs to be replaced. This system is so old that nobody even fucking knows how it works anymore. We need to, we need to create a replacement for it. And they cut funding for it. They cut funding and then they cut taxes, which means that they can't in the future provide more funding because the taxes have already been, it's It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And the Republicans who are doing this aren't cutting taxes for, your regular average Joe. They're cutting taxes for corporations, for the mega wealthy.
Yeah.
People who don't need a tax cut.
Yep. And the section of our society that pays 50% of the federal income tax comes from big wealthy corporations, and you cut that in half. It's like, well, now you're going to get 25% less than you're getting before, because you took the people that were giving us 50%, you cut their shit in half.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big chunk of fucking money right there.
Yeah.
That's a huge fucking chunk of money, which is why in 10 years it's going to be over another, what was it, a couple?
Yeah, that just
trillion?
blows it up. I mean,
the debt just keeps going up and up and up.
The thing that they don't understand is that the operating costs and overhead and all that stuff is always going to be ticking over. That's running constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start cutting stuff out, like for your buddies and shit, your trillionaire buddies, when you start cutting out, they should be taxed at 80%. The people at the top.
They used to be.
Yeah. Those huge corporations, churches, and those huge corporations should be taxed at 80%. And we need to cut the military by 75%, move that money into education, and stop fucking around with border walls and shutting down the government and all this bullshit. There's so much. There's plenty to go around. I mean, if you just did nothing else but tax the churches, you'd see a major increase. But you're doing that in
at least $5 billion.
You do that, and when you increase the taxes on the wealthy, you can cut taxes on the middle class, and the middle class businesses are going to grow into bigger businesses. That's how it works.
Well, and they use this ridiculous argument that, well, if you tax the wealthy so much, then what's going to be the point of being wealthy? You're going to stifle innovation and creation, and the job creators aren't going to be creating more jobs.
Trickle down arguments.
And that's fucking nonsense bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, are you honestly telling me that if you owned a business, let's say you own a business where you're making $5 million a year, and they're going to increase your taxes by 20% if you make another $1 million, you're not going to expand your business to still bring home, $800,000 more,
right.
Like the math just doesn't fucking work that way.
Yeah.
People are always going to want to get more, and you can continue taxing them more as long as they're still getting, you're not taking all of their earnings away. You're taking a higher percentage, but they're still earning a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
And they'll still want to earn even more money.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, well, what's the point of doing this? I'm not going to make as much money as I want to.
Yeah, I'd rather make $12 an hour than $500 million. You're like, what the fuck? What are you talking about?
It's kind of like I'd used the analogy once before, and I can't remember when, but kind of going along the lines of, you can only eat so many hamburgers.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if you make $10 an hour or if you make $1 million an hour, you can still only eat so many hamburgers. So if you make an extra $20 billion, there's a lot just sitting there doing nothing.
Yep.
The guy that makes $12 an hour, guess what? He can eat the same amount of hamburgers as you can, but it costs him way more to get those hamburgers because it's way more of a chunk of his change coming out so he can feed himself.
Yeah. We have one last story that I think may explain in part why Donald Trump is fine with having the government continue to be shut down, or at least parts of it continue to be shut down. This was published on December 26th on Politico. It says Trump lawyers, citing shutdown, ask court for delay in emoluments case. Lawyers for President Donald Trump are invoking the government shutdown to seek a delay in a court case over claims that Trump is illegally profiting from business his Washington hotel does with foreign countries.
Yeah. Can I just add in here?
Huh?
They found funding for the that national post office, that historical post office building. That's part of what is it? What's the name of the place? Oh yeah, Trump Towers. They found funding for that place. They magically found money to fund that building. That one building that's in that Trump Towers. I don't know who owns it, but it's in a Trump Tower. And so they found funding for that place, luckily.
Justice Department attorneys representing Trump asked a federal appeals court on Wednesday to postpone indefinitely all further filings in an appeal related to a suit that the governments of Maryland and Washington, D.C. filed over Trump's alleged violation of the Constitution's ban on foreign emoluments.
You can't do that. They'll still work and look at these filings. They just won't get paid.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, good for them. Well, at least they'll have something to do.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting at home twiddling their thumbs. I'm sorry, but just real briefly going back to before, I said that, I'm forced to work, and I don't know if and when I'm going to be paid. And then we were also told that because we're working, we cannot file for unemployment. Like all of the government workers who are not working can file for unemployment to have some kind of pay to bridge the gap, in between when the government starts running again. But those of us who are being forced to work cannot file for unemployment because we're still working.
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
So I get the benefit of not only getting no money and working, but I also will be able to bring in no additional income through unemployment because I'm working for free.
It's a fucked up catch-22.
Yeah. That is a real one. That is a real rock and a hard place right there.
And when I heard initially the government was shutting down, I was like, yeah, that sucks. It's going to be harmful and hurtful for a bunch of people. It's going to be completely wasteful, whatever. And then it was like, oh, I'm an accepted employee. So it's going to shut down and I have to work also. And I don't know that I'm going to be paid. Like historically that has always happened, but I don't know that will happen this time because the orange fucking dipshit will have to sign off on legislation for doing that. And who knows if he's going to do that.
Probably won't sign off on it because he's like, well, we need to save the money.
Yeah.
And
he's apparently got it tied into his own personal gain from what you're saying here. So he's incentivized to not have the government back up.
Yeah. Well, and who knows how long the shutdown is going to go.
Yeah.
So I could just be working indefinitely for free.
Does he have it in the back of his mind?
It's not like my bills get shut down.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what we were just saying. And the government bills, the economics don't shut down either.
No,
Those keep running. And so, that's why he's going to be one of the biggest debt inflators of all time.
I wonder if he had it in the back of his mind that the government shut down, the Mueller probe would stop.
Ah, yeah.
Maybe.
Which it didn't.
Let's see. The government's brief is not due until January 22nd, but DOJ lawyers asked the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, based in Richmond, Virginia, to put the appeal on ice until the shutdown ends. Quote, the department does not know when funding will be restored by Congress, justice lawyers wrote. Absent an appropriation, Department of Justice attorneys and employees are prohibited from working even on a voluntary basis, except in very limited circumstances, including emergencies involving the safety of human life or the protection of property. Undersigned counsel for the Department of Justice therefore requests a stay of briefing on the president's mandamus petition until Congress has restored appropriations to the department. A short time after the government filed the request, the court agreed to put the case on hold indefinitely. The Justice Department lawyers appear to be asking the appeals court not only to lift the deadlines in the case, but also to extend them by the duration of the shutdown once Congress and the president put new funding in place. Similar motions were being filed Wednesday on a variety of civil cases the federal government is involved in, including some litigation related to Trump's policy limiting grants of asylum. So it's just a big benefit for him, really. The longer it's shut down, the more this is going to be put off.
It's only prolonging the inevitable, though.
Well,
hopefully.
Well, this stuff is still going to happen.
Yeah. Eventually.
It will happen.
Yeah.
So he's just taking that Band-Aid off really slowly.
But yeah, when I saw this fucking turd standing in front of mics today saying it could be shut down for months or even years. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Think of how much that would cost.
He doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. He doesn't give a fuck about, and I'm starting to get a little nervous and a little worried about, well, fuck, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make my next mortgage payment because, like I said, I have a little bit of savings, but that's not going to last forever. I have a little bit of savings that's not going to last forever. And, how long is it going to be shut down? And then what the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
We
revolt.
Do I just continue working? I'm not going to continue working for free forever. I read a story and we heard reports earlier before we started the show that, a bunch of TSA agents are just starting to call out sick all the time now.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting paid. So why the fuck go to work?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of feeling that way. I had to go. Well, I told you guys I had to go get my crown worked on again today because it's still bothering me almost a month after getting it done. And, can't remember where I was going with the story, but I had to go get that done and have it fixed. And Oh no! That I told my boss, hey, I got to take half the day off to go to the dentist.
Yeah.
And he seemed very worried that perhaps it was
coming back.
It was a ruse. Like, hey, I hope everything goes really well. Let me know how you're doing. But yeah, it's just really frustrating and becoming more and more worrisome and bothersome. And
well, according to the Orange Menace, you wanted this shutdown.
Oh yeah, I love it. Every minute of it has been a fucking party for me.
I mean, all these families that just spent all this money on their Christmas holidays or vacations they might have taken to visit with family around this time. Yeah, they had this in the back of their mind that they needed all that money to be saved up because they might not be getting paid for a month.
Well, and I told you guys before the show that I've been contacted by a couple different news media people who wanted to interview me to find out how this is impacting me. And I said, I'd love to speak to you and I can tell you things off the record, or you can use my name anonymously, but I can't. Like, I'm in a quasi managerial position, and so I feel like I can't really speak to members of the press openly about what I think and what is going on, because I think it will have a negative impact on my job. I'm like, I post a bunch of shit out on Facebook. You can go check that out, or use me anonymously, whatever. But yeah, that just. Like there's the double thing of, okay, the government is shut down, but I get no time off for it.
Nope.
I'm still working, but I can't really get anything done because the other 90% of the workforce isn't in. I'm working for free. I don't know when it ends. I've got bills coming up. I can't file for unemployment. It's just like,
that's
how much more could I be fucked in this situation?
Do you still accrue leave while you're?
I don't believe so. And
really?
I think that's part of the legislation that they will have to pass for pay.
That you get the leave that you earned while working for free.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Man.
I've been digging every minute of it.
Yeah.
That'll wrap it up for us this evening. Before we go, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon patrons while we're hoping for more. That would be Mr. Alan Firth,
Newmania,
Christy Kalbach,
Gaytheist,
Larry Wilson,
Stephen Andrews,
Let Them Eat Kofefe,
3 Skeptical Chaps,
Michelle Short,
Vanessa,
Freethinker 215,
Captain Samples,
Utah Outcast,
Janet Uter,
Marius Kotbuchkowski,
Wesley Aaron,
Andrew Vodopich,
Sailor Grin,
Angelica Pearson,
Jeremy Goodson,
Brandy Hamrick,
Megan Kennedy,
The Foz,
Jeff Peterson,
Jesse Pointer,
Savita Kuna,
and the Purple Dragon.
Yay!
Thank you all very much.
We really, 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 really appreciate it.
And if you can donate a can of soup to Dan, he would love it.
I like soup. I'm getting old. I like soup. I like to leave parties early and come home and have a nice bowl of soup. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you had an amazing holiday, and hopefully this year will be the worst year in Donald Trump's life. And so until next week, crucify Congress.
Leave a review if you want Obama back.
And rate the show 5 times a day toward hand-drawn maps.
Now up by Dugway, I know there's no cops there, so I'll get out of my car and take a dump.
Oh Jesus, really?
Oh yeah, there's a spot where
you have a regular pooping spot?
Not a regular one, but like it's the no go area. Where if I leave work, like I'll try to drink coffee like at 7. I usually leave at 8.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to get that first poop in before I leave.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've only had to do it
Sometimes you haven't
once.
fully cleared the system.
Yeah. So there's this place out there called Lone Rock where you can just kind of pull off the road and go down the dirt road a little bit and pull off and take it up. Except for on the weekends, it's not a good place to go because people like to go out there and go camping or shoot their guns. It's a dump.
Yeah. Literally.
Well, yeah.